So, I thought we'll have just a very casual conversation about innovation and what are the things that India can do actually to leapfrog. And now there's a new term since KTR spoke yesterday, it's pole vault, it's not leapfrog. Um, so I just wanted to ask each of you about your insights into it. So Vanitha, you have lots of titles, but the thing I was most impressed by was you're one of the 12 global Indian superwomen of 2016 by CXO today. So this is what a real superwoman looks like. And the thing is, you're not just part of IBM, you're not just the chair of IBM India, you're part of the IBM growth and transformation team that looks at the overall IBM brand and where should it go, et cetera. So you have an interesting aspect of globally what works as well as here what works. So as we move from a very, very industrial economy to a creative economy, what are the big trends that you see happening here, both as India as well as part of a global conversation?
Okay. So first of all, Lakshmi, thank you for having us, and I think putting us up front so we could work with the time. Good afternoon, everyone. That's a question we can talk about. So if I was to be sort of succinct about it, I think the whole digital transformation, whether you call leapfrog, whether you call pole vault, whether you call whatever it is, represents a huge opportunity for India and for Indians. If we go back and look at the IT era, which a lot of the infrastructure we are in, et cetera, were built around, India embraced the internet economy.
Yes.
And the pervasiveness of the internet, and has built a $150 billion industry on it. And today, if I look at the next wave of technologies, and there's, I caught several of the AI discussions this morning.
Correct.
I think AI, we believe for the next several decades, AI will be as pervasive as IT has been in every process, in every industry, in every experience, making it better, making it more efficient, making it richer. And that represents a huge opportunity, again, for India in terms of a digital workforce and embracing it in a way with the right, if you will, the mature behaviors, and we can talk about that. And if we lay that as a foundation, the innovation is here, and clearly the propensity for technology is here. The foundations are here.
Correct.
And now with digitization, you have a tremendous democratization of the platforms. So access, you no longer have to rely on big companies. Big platforms available to very small entrepreneurs and, in fact, 15-year-olds that can build very intuitive businesses out of it.
Right.
So I'll pause there and we can come back and maybe talk about it soon.
So Vikram, you're the co-founder of Mytrah Energy, and you guys have in the last 7 years, we kind of started our journey about the same time, Inc. and these guys, except their market cap is much better. So not quite market cap yet, pretty soon. So you have over 2,000 megawatts that are operational or either underway, et cetera. So what do you see when we talk about technology, et cetera, renewable energy, in what way is that going to be really big in India?
Yeah, sure. I think I'm going to talk specifically about the sector. Power generation, as we know it, will change in the next 10 years. We had a central utility model where the power was procured by a central utility and distributed.
Correct.
But given, I never thought I would use this word in power, given the advancement in AI, materials, data science, and analytics, and also the technology advancement in wind power and solar power, distributed generation is a reality today.
Yeah.
As we speak, distributed generation, like solar rooftops, are replacing the gensets, if you will. Soon we'll see that solar rooftops will replace a lot more commercial power. Today's solar rooftop is much cheaper, right? So the only puzzle in this whole thing that needs to get solved is the batteries. So once the battery's cost comes down,
Yeah.
it is not when, it is not if, when it comes down, which probably is in about 5 years or so, then we're all going to say, why do we even need a utility? We can all generate on top of our houses or factories. We can take the kit wherever we go, and the whole model as we know it is going to get challenged. And that's going to have a tremendous impact because it's a geopolitical issue, it's an issue at the fiscal deficit level, it's an issue at what happens to oil demand, what happens to cars. So it's a much, much larger issue that we're talking
power,
about. Complete
among
shift in
geographies.
power and
Yeah.
geographies. And,
Yeah.
India spends so much money on oil imports. So if that's going to be saved, then what is it going to do with that money? Is, a lot of money is going to get into roads and development, et cetera, et cetera. I think it's a huge, huge change that's happening right under our nose. Yeah.
Sure. So continuing on that, before I come to Vanitha, give me a specific example. We talked about how you guys used AI in energy and that actually some other larger companies are coming to you for the solution. Tell us a little bit about that specific example of what you've
Sure.
done.
As Vanitha referred to, democratization of technology. We wouldn't be able to do this 5 or 6 years ago. So we actually went to IBM and said, give us a solution to help us run our turbines more efficiently. Because we know these turbines throw up so much data, but we need a way to analyze that and say maybe we always have a problem that one turbines perform better than the other turbine in the same wind farm. So it's primarily because of settings and what inputs it's receiving and what it is telling, because there's a control system in the middle that's a brain of the turbine that tells it, you do this, wind is here, it runs the whole turbine. So
Correct.
we said, okay, we need an algorithm to run the brain, right? And we worked with IBM, et cetera. At that time, we were a startup. We couldn't afford IBM. So we said, we'll do it ourselves, And then in about 3 years, our guys have been able to put together an algorithm where I can monitor, run all my turbines on my mobile phone from here. So it automatically learns the settings, resets it, and ensures that it runs much better than what it was running earlier. And it's not a small impact. In an industry where we make 10% or 12% margins, we've been able to increase the revenue by about 5 or 6 or 7% using this, which is about 40-50% increase in our margins.
Yeah.
And so that solution, is really sought after, and a lot of large Fortune 100 companies want to use that at this point in time.
So Vanitha, to
Let
continue on
me
that,
pick
yeah,
up, let
give
me
me your
pick up on
perspective.
that. 5 years ago, I think when our team engaged with Mytrah, we didn't, the IBM company hadn't bought the weather company. A year ago, we bought the weather company. And so this is the differing world that we have in. Whether you're a startup or you're an established company, everyone's going through a technology-driven transformation today because of where technology is. So, if you look at the different inputs, if my team was talking to Vikram today, it would be because the weather company now produces 250,000 base stations around the world, 50,000 flights every day that you capture atmospheric information. You can be precise to a half kilometer in terms of weather, and you can update the weather information every 15 minutes. And to someone like them, knowing and being able to predict wind and adjust their maintenance accordingly is huge, because these are micro weather down to that particular half kilometer of that 500 meters of that weather farm. And I think what's important, to sort of keep in mind today is, and especially for the startups and for I would say the scale-ups or the grown-ups, is really we live at the intersection of domain and technology, AI, and you can solve extraordinarily large global problems, and most cases people will solve extraordinarily local problems because they will have the insight to do so, and now you have the ability to do so.
Correct. And I think that's a great example of you being, before he would have approached you more as a consulting partner. Now he's approaching you as a true data partner.
Yeah.
So the final thing is, as you see this changing world, changing roles, I mean, you're the one who says that we are everybody's vendor and a customer and
Yep.
everything all at the same time. Where do you see India going? What are some of the things India must do, we must happen in India for it to truly become, to embrace AI the way you're talking about?
A very sort of unexpected conversation at lunch today.
Right.
I met a young gentleman who was talking about health. So India was made for AI, or AI was made for India, because we have problems at scale and we have scarce expertise. And if you look at AI, it's the best way to scale and augment expertise. The other, sometimes your lack of legacy is an advantage. Yeah. We don't have to work through legacy. In many cases, again, you can pivot to the latest. Yeah. And that pivoting allows, and this is, I think, important, that we don't try to be protective, that we truly embrace it and lean in. Right. Now, having said that, I'd make a couple of things which I think are important. Particularly in the field of AI, it is extraordinarily important, and this is a company we've taken a very strong position on, about data responsibility. Yeah. Data is people's assets, companies' assets, government's assets. So you have to be very clear as you build AI algorithms, what data are you building it on, who does it belong to, and who is training it. Because when we go to a doctor, we want to know which college the doctor went to and where they certified.
Correct.
Similarly, if you're going to rely on AI to drive productivity or roles, you need to know what data it was trained on and who did the training. Yeah. And that transparency and responsibility, I think, is very, very foundational to people starting their businesses and scaling it, because that will allow you to scale in a sustainable way.
Yeah. And what do you say?
I think we had like Vanitha was referring to, we had a good time during the IT revolution. But like KTR said yesterday, I think we need to pole vault. I think leapfrogging is not good enough. So we've really lost the last 15 years. There are several countries that are way more advanced than what we are, whether in terms in AI or ML. The largest patents are by Chinese companies, material science. I think if India needs to capture some part of what's going on, I think now we need to research, we need to put more emphasis on biology, materials. Yes. I think that is the new sector. AI is sort of, 10 years away, but these things are like 20 years away. I think these are going to be the new Googles and new CRISPR, health, those are the larger sectors that we need to, I think we need to have a policy while, actually I'm taking your words, while we adopt the present, I think we should be more pro-future. Yeah. And what is happening in the future. I think right now where I stand, I don't think we're in a position to take advantage of anything that's going on. So I'll be a little bit provocative and see, it's after lunch, so let's see if this wakes up all the audience. We are way behind the rest of the world.
I mean, but there is an opportunity from us being maybe the biggest importer of energy to biggest exporter of energy. And it's really wonderful to sit on a stage where one of the world's oldest, and established companies, and one of the newest are having a dialogue as equals, right? So that itself is a great progress. Great. So thank you so much for both of your time.
Thank you for having us over.
We look forward to hearing more from you. Thank you.